Welcome Libra to your in-depth year 2025 astrology forecast for the ascendant, the sun or the moon. I'm going to briefly outline how I'm going to structure the video. I'm going to tell you about two eclipses in the latter part of 2024. They're hugely influential in the new months of 2025, but the second, a solar eclipse, is in your sign, so I can't wait to share that with you. I'm also going to, on screen, share your event chart for your solar return right at the start of the year. That provides a backdrop energy for the following 12 months. Also, we're going to have a lot of activity in your sector of success this year. It starts by being primed up by Mars, but also you have Jupiter arriving in this sector on the 9th of June. So that's a big part of your prospects this year. But on the 11th of January, we have a switch in the nodal axis. Since 2012, your dedication and commitment have been awesome. But what has the outcome of that been? Particularly with Saturn being quite a cool influence over the last 2 years. That new nodal axis, the North Node in Pisces, is going to give you some clarity this year for sure. Now, as we go into the spring, there's a lot of activity in your sector of relating. I can almost say that relationships, whether they're personal or professional, are going to be a massive part of your story this year. It starts with Venus, your ruler, augmented by Mercury, but they both go into retrogrades. We then have the second of a new eclipse series in the sign of Virgo, which is very psychological. What will that mean for you? We then have the dawning of the new astrological year, the 20th of March. But this is followed by the solar eclipse, the final solar eclipse in the sign of Aries, your sector of relating, but Neptune moving into the sign on the 30th. Neptune's going to be joined by Saturn on the 25th of May. They both link back to Pluto in the most expressive part of your chart. If you connect to people that are meaningful this year, it could be absolutely thrilling for you. But we must be aware that Saturn in your 7th house can also bring limitations. And Saturn is also not at its best in the sign of Aries, it's in its fall. So we can think of Saturn and Neptune together from the end of May through to the end of August as being sensational, and it can bring some opportunities, but potentially some challenges. Now, on the 7th of July, Uranus, the planet of disruption, of provocation and change, of freedom, moves out of the deep 8th house of your chart for a 4-month stay in the most free-spirited, liberated part of your situation. If ever there was a time to get some space or a holiday, it's certainly then. But it also forges a dazzling link to Pluto and back to Saturn and Neptune. It's a grand minor trine, a golden triangle, so rare. It is significant for us all, but what does it mean for you? Because in September, there are two very challenging eclipses for your sign. Again, going across the signs of Pisces and Virgo. So getting the balance between your emotional, spiritual and psychological existence and the practical sphere of your life is a big part of this year's story. I'm then going to take you into the fall, the autumn. You do have the third cardinal quadrant, the sun returns to your sign, you have your new moon, but that new moon is challenged by Saturn. Please stay with me as I unpick all this for you. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. If you're new to my channel, it's lovely to have your company. If you have any thoughts, please share them. This is very much a community. If you're a returning visitor, it's great to have your company once more, and all your views and interactions are truly appreciated. About 50% of people who enjoy my videos regularly are yet to subscribe. If that's you, please help the channel to thrive. Click that sub button and also the bell notification symbol. Please take advantage of my unique year 2025 personal horoscope forecast promotion. If you order in 24, you'll get the rest of that year free, but in my special package of 30% off, you also get your life roadmap report. This will help you to understand the patterns that have played out in your life so far, get a much more intimate understanding of how these have played out and how you can work with them future forwards. But with your forecast as well, it's a fantastic amount of information. It's great value, totally unique for each person it's produced for. Please see the link below for more. If you'd like to talk to me personally, I am a consulting astrologer. Please check out my testimonials below. I don't edit these. As they come in, I share as is. Relationships are incredibly important for us all. Whether we want one or not, we have one with ourselves, our neighbours, our friends, our family members and our colleagues. If you'd like your relationships to work better, but use the power of Western tropical astrology, check out matchful.me. This app combines serious astrology with psychological profiling. It's not based on sun sign analysis. You can enjoy it by clicking on the link below, and if you type in Patrick in the coupon form, you'll also get an additional discount. So Libra, on the 18th of September 2024, we have the first of a new eclipse series in the sign of Pisces, but it's very close to the shimmering, shifting energy of Neptune. Neptune rules the sign of Pisces, of course, but this is the precursor of the switch of the nodal axis because the eclipses work in relation to that. However, on the 2nd of October, there's a sparkling solar eclipse in your sign, urging you to stand in your power, particularly as Mercury, the planet of communication, forges a conjunction to the Sun and the Moon. If ever there was a chance to lay out exactly what you want and be very single-minded about going for it, this is your opportunity. What's not to like? Well, it's just that complex lunar eclipse is asking you to be mindful of the needs of others. So you're going to need to find the balance between the juggle of those two competing eclipses as you make your way into the new year. Now, your ruler is Venus, and it starts this year in a stunning location for you, House 5, along with Pluto. Now, Venus can be very flirty, very affectionate, but in the sign of Aquarius, perhaps also a little detached. And it is in a right angle with Uranus this year. Uranus starts the year in House 8, where it's been for some time, which is very much about where you're most invested, but Uranus could be at times, or has been at times, seen you have a need to disassociate yourself from something where you feel that people aren't showing the same level of commitment. So it's possible you could have a dazzling connection to someone this year, maybe a friend because of Venus being in Aquarius, but whether you can actually make the connection bond, well, I feel that that's going to have a lot to do with that collective that forges up in Aries as we go into the spring. But as you start the year, if there is a weak relationship in your situation, I feel that that is going to make you mindful of your need for space and freedom. Now you can see from your chart on screen that the moon is very close to the sun right at the start of the year. This is because we had a new moon as 2024 came to a close. And therefore you go into this new year very mindful, I feel, of your emotional needs, where you live, how you live there and who with. And that is going to be a theme for the whole year. With the moon being in the 4th house, it's possible that you could move or redecorate. Anything that gives you a greater sense of stability and security at the root of your life is going to be something that calls out to you. But that doesn't mean to say that there can't be some social possibilities. Mars starts this year in a very charismatic location in Leo, but it is in retrograde and it's opposite the fierce energies of Pluto. If there is someone that you're finding absolutely captivating, that will certainly give you a lot of push to follow your instincts and go for it. But remember that Venus-Uranus square is reminding you of your need for space, and also the solar eclipse in your sign of the 2nd of October, asking you to be mindful of maintaining what's really important for you, the individual. But I feel that there can be some playful, sociable possibilities from that combination. It may be that you're going to do something that's a bit more physical and perhaps in a group sport situation. Maybe you're going to test yourself out in an endurance sport, because Mars opposite Pluto can give us a lot of desire to burn off our energy. Now, Mercury, the planet of communication, is actually in a very bubbly part of your chart, house 3, opposite Jupiter in house 9. Now, both Mercury and Jupiter are in locations where they're not at their best. But for you, I feel this does give you the potential to be very expressive about your ideas and perhaps be drawn towards some travel. But because Saturn is in a T-square with both, Saturn starts this year in the part of your chart to do with responsibilities and obligations, and it's going to end the year in that sector too, because it moves back into Pisces on the 1st of September. So it's only in Aries for 3 months and 8 days. So very important to understand that though a lot of the conversation will be about Saturn and Neptune moving into Aries, they are only going to be there for a period of time. They're going to return for a longer stay in 2026. So that solar return for you is asking you to be mindful of your emotional situation, your home and family life. It's pushing you to manifest your ideas through the opposition with Mercury and Jupiter, but you can't escape the scrutinizing energy of Saturn. So there may be times this year when you're still trying to juggle that part of you that wants to be in your power, but then feels you've got to support others. That's a classic Libran dimension, which has been emphasized strongly, particularly over the last couple of years. And that's why that switch of nodal axis that I've spoken about on the 11th of January is going to be so influential. But as you go into the new year, Mars inverses back into the sign of Cancer. If you recall, Mars moved into Cancer on the 4th of September through to the early part of November. That 8-week period gave you a chance to really heighten your profile and be much more driven in terms of ambitions. You get another window of opportunity. It's just that with Mars in retrograde, not everything may go quite as quickly as you would like. Mars goes direct on the 24th of February, but it returns to the charismatic sign of Leo on the 18th of April. So from pretty well the start of the year to the middle of April, that's your window to really amp up your desire to raise your profile, achieve greater acclaim, but also demonstrate your authority. And that's really lovely for you to do, because you're a cardinal sign. And although the archetype is that you're very much a people pleaser and like to keep balance in your relationships, which can be true, since Pluto moved into Capricorn, Uranus moved into Taurus, and also Saturn moved into Pisces, there's been a lot of giving to other people. So that solar eclipse on the 2nd of October, plus Mars going to the top of your chart, is pushing you to seize the moment. But what about that nodal axis? Because on the 11th of January, the true nodal axis inverts into Pisces. So over the last year and a half, it has been teasing some opportunities around relationships. But some of those connections may have been a little bit disappointing, to be honest. But I feel that what it's done is taught you a lot about setting your boundaries and being clearer about what you need. Now, because the 6th house is very much about our practical situations. It can be to do with life organisation, work, health, diet and fitness. Those could be areas that do engage you this year. But remember, with Saturn there and also forging that square with the planet of growth, Jupiter, which starts your year in a very expansive area, you may feel that there's a bit of a juggle between what you want to do for yourself and what other people expect of you. But that's natural. But your diplomacy is still a massive part of what you can achieve in the early part of this year. So Venus suggests that there may be someone who's going to be drawn towards you from the 4th of February. From the 3rd of March, as Mercury moves into your opposite sign, it gets easier to discuss things even if someone has a contrary and different point of view, but then they both go into retrograde. So be aware there can be some cross wires. Also, the second of the new eclipse series, this time in Virgo, opposing the Sun in Pisces on the 14th of March, very close to Saturn. Once more, you could feel bogged down by other people's demands and needs. Maybe your own physical vitality is not quite as strong as you would hope it would be. We then have on the 20th the start of the Western Tropical Astrological Year. Cardinal Quadrant 1, the Sun returns to your opposite sign. The 7th house can be where we relate, for sure. Your sign or the ruler of your sign, Venus, very much involved in that whole process. But it's also about where we can set our boundaries. And that's critical, particularly with Venus and Mercury so close to that event. The 29th, however, the solar eclipse, if you do want to bring someone sensational into your world, the next 6 months is certainly an opportunity to do so. But what the solar eclipse in your sign told you to do is make sure you don't give away your power in order to achieve that connection. So it's all about being very aware of what you've got to give, but also what you expect. But also with the iron will of Saturn moving into your 7th house from the 25th of May, the gentle vibe of Neptune from the 30th of March can make you very beguiling, but I feel that even if you did meet someone, Saturn's coming along to scrutinise things from that 3rd week of May. Now the two are together through to the end of August. They are linking back to Pluto. If you did connect to someone who really captured your imagination, it could lock in for the long term, because when Saturn goes across the 7th house cusp, it will either end a relationship or it will bring a significant person in. But of course, we have to meet that person in the first place. And if that's being in some ways conflicted by your demands and responsibilities, weariness, work, then that makes life more difficult. So you are going to have to speculate to accumulate if you do want to meet that special person, Libra. Fortunately, Mars moving on the 18th of April back into the sign of Leo is going to give you a lot of uplift in terms of your glow, but also it can help you to mix and mingle more. It is going to go opposite Pluto again, but that could also amp your desire if there is someone in your social circle who's really capturing your imagination. Now on May the 27th there is a Gemini new moon, which of course is your sister air sign, but it is conjunct Mercury. If you have been thinking about heading off somewhere and doing something more spontaneously, that's a great month to try to do it for sure. On June the 9th, Jupiter climbs into that very prominent part of your chart, the 10th house. But the key is Jupiter loves being in Cancer, it's exalted. It wasn't so happy in the sign of Gemini, where it's detrimented. So you have an opportunity, at least until the 11th of November when Jupiter retrogrades, to once again talk and communicate. Jupiter's about knowledge. If you've accumulated a lot of knowledge over a long period of time, you need to present that to people and make them aware of what you've got to offer. But on June the 20th, the Sun joins up with Jupiter in Cancer. Ordinarily, this ushers in a 13-week period where nurture is very important to us all. Now remember, you have that right at the start of the year in your solar return. But this particular summer solstice is conflicted by Saturn and Neptune. If there is a professional relationship which is not going quite so well, it's going to show up around this time, particularly on the Cancer new moon of the 25th of June, which again is clashing with Saturn and Neptune. Perhaps your desire for recognition is not quite working for someone you work with. Could be a colleague, it could be your partner if you're spending more time active in your professional field. But on July the 7th, Uranus replaces Jupiter in Gemini. But this is stunning. This brings a 4-month window of opportunity for you through to the 8th of November to really think about how you can revolutionize your approach. But it may mean stepping outside your comfort zone. but it's possible that you could encounter someone who's very different to you from a romantic viewpoint, with Uranus arcing back to Pluto in your sector of self-expression, but also linking to Saturn and Neptune in your sector of relating. You really can be so inspirational to be around, and perhaps also finding a great thrill from being much more spontaneous. Why not? Go for it. Enjoy every single moment of this period. It's going to come back into the sign of Gemini for the long term from April the 26th, 2026. But on July the 19th, Mercury slams on the brakes in your sector of friendships. There could be a little bit of crosswires and frustrations which occur. The 24th of July sees a Leo new moon, but that is in a sextile with Uranus. So even despite the retrograde, and there could be some bumpy changes of plan, be open-minded about the connections you can have. August the 10th sees things start to unravel as Mercury goes direct. But August the 23rd sees another new moon. So essentially we have a blue moon period here, and this one is in a square with Uranus. So it's possible, just as the sun's about to move into your 12th house, which is more sheltered and a little bit more sensitive, that something could come into the open that you find a bit tricky or awkward. But on the 1st of September, Saturn ends its journey through the sign of Aries. It's back into that sector of obligation, Pisces. But at least you've had 2.5 years of working with that energy. On the 8th of September, Uranus goes retrograde. But September the 7th, it's a big day, as I primed before, because you do have a Pisces lunar eclipse, but it's very close to the North Node. So your destiny, if you like, about obligations, work, where you can be really appreciative for your sacrifices, could manifest itself. But on September the 21st, there is a new moon in Virgo, which is also a solar eclipse, but that's opposite Saturn. I felt that this could be the tenderest point of the whole year, to be honest, and because that solar eclipse will provide a backdrop through to the end of the year and into the early part of 2026, just be aware if the shadow side, the subconscious side of your world, your fears and anxieties, if you're not fully aware of them and embracing them and self-soothing, some practical issues can aggravate them. So too many demands, too much work, you could feel a little bit run down, so just be conscious of that. However, redemption comes on September the 22nd with the autumnal equinox. The sun moves back into your sign. You're going to feel much more in tune with you. But we do have on the 21st of October, the new moon comes right at the end of the sun's journey through your sign, and it's in a quincunx with Saturn. Let's go back to the start of the process. If you recall, the new lunar eclipse in Pisces of the 18th of September, very close to Neptune, and that's emphasizing your sacrifice, your care for others. But the solar eclipse in your sign on the 2nd of October is saying you must focus on what's right for you. So when you get to the end of the process and you get the new moon in the next year, still that 6th house energy, but this time Saturn, is providing perhaps a challenge to that part of you that does want to be much more assured, self-confident and assertive about what you need. On the 22nd of October, Neptune returns to Pisces. On the 8th of November, Uranus to Taurus. So it's a year when relationships can shift radically for you, but the underlying trend really is about finding the balance between what you want to do for yourself and where you feel obligated or in some ways ensnared by the demands and expectations of others. And because right at the start of the year there is that very sensitive moon position for you, being protective is important, but I still feel that this can be one of the most exciting years for many a year for you. But particularly if you can find that perfect balance between what you need and what you're prepared to give, and find the people to collaborate with who respect you on the terms that are important to you. Have a great year, Libra. Take care and goodbye.